Queen Zilara of the Drazine Empire stood on her balcony, watching the three moons rise above the crystal mountains. Her 6 violet eyes blinked slowly as memories flooded back. The royal palace felt empty despite hundreds of servants and guards moving through its halls. Something important was missing. Something that had been taken from her 10 cycles ago during the terrible war with humans. Her youngest child, Miro Xilara, touched the sacred pendant at her neck. This royal heirloom contained the genetic signature of every royal child born to the empire. For 10 cycles, the pendant had remained warm, where Miro's signature was stored. This meant he still lived somewhere, but no amount of searching had found him. The queen turned as her chief advisor Kalara entered the royal chamber. Kalara had served the royal family for 50 cycles. Her blue scales had faded with age, but her mind remained sharp. My queen Kalara bowed, her feathery antennae flattened in respect. The human delegation has arrived earlier than expected. They claimed to have urgent news. Zilara straightened her 7-foot frame and adjusted her ceremonial armor. She was not scheduled to meet humans today. This was unexpected. Send them to the small meeting hall. I will see them shortly, she ordered. Her voice was cool and controlled as always, but inside her hearts raced what could be so urgent that humans would arrive unannounced. The meeting hall was lined with murals depicting the long history of the Drazine people, their rise from simple tribes on a harsh world to masters of a dozen planets. The most recent mural showed the peace treaty with humans signed 5 cycles ago, ending the bloody war that had cost millions of lives on both sides. Zilara entered the hall flanked by royal guards. The delegation consisted of 3 humans, 2 males and 1 female. The female stepped forward. She had light brown skin and dark hair pulled back. Her uniform indicated she was a commander in the human fleet. Her name was Kimberly Martinez. Queen Zilara. Kimberly bowed deeply. I apologize for our unexpected arrival, but I bring news that could not wait. Speak. Zilara commanded, her tail swishing slowly behind her, a sign of her controlled tension. We found something during an archaeological expedition on Nexus 4. Kimberly nodded to one of the males who stepped forward with a small container. We were helping document the war sites for the joint memorial project. This was buried in the rubble of the royal nursery. Zilara felt her hearts quicken. The pendant at her neck grew warmer. Inside the container was a small purple scale with royal markings. Only those of royal blood had such markings, Kimberly continued. The interesting thing is, we found this near an escape pod, landing site 5 miles from the nursery. An escape pod that was never accounted for in any records. My son Zilara whispered. Her pendant was now hot against her skin. Where is he? We believe a human rescue ship found the pod. Kimberly said, our records show a child was recovered and taken to Earth. He would have been raised there, possibly not knowing his true identity. A human raised my son. Zilara hissed, her rage building. Her claws extended instinctively. The guards tensed, ready to protect their Queen. Kimberly raised a hand. Please understand, Queen Zilara. At that time, humans did not know what Drazine children looked like. There was confusion. War was raging. It was chaos. He was treated well. And we have located him. Zilara froze. Her 6 eyes widened. Where is he? He was adopted by a human family named Sanchez. They live in a place called New Mexico on Earth. They called him Theo. He is now 22 years old by Earth standards. We have spoken to him. He knows he is different. He always knew he wants to meet you. Bring him to me. Zilara demanded, her voice cracking with emotion. Something no one had heard from their queen since the day they told her Miro was dead. We did. Queen Zilara. Kimberly smiled. He is waiting outside. The doors opened, and a young Drazine male entered. He was smaller than most males his age, the result of an Earth diet and environment, but his royal purple scales and 6 eyes were unmistakable. His antennae twitched nervously as all eyes in the room turned to him. Zilara stood frozen. Her pendant burned against her skin. This was her son, her lost child, the one she had mourned for 10 long cycles. Theo approached slowly, uncertain. He wore human clothes and carried himself like a human. But his eyes, those 6 beautiful eyes, were filled with questions and a hunger for answers. "Are you my mother?" he asked. His voice had a human accent strange to Drazine ears. Shilara reached out with trembling claws and touched his face gently. "I am." The royal guards in the room fell too. Their knees. A prince had returned. The royal line preserved. Kimberly smiled. "We found him working at a spaceport. He always felt drawn to the stars. He became an engineer trying to understand alien technology, trying to understand himself. I think." "Why? Did you bring him back?" Solara asked, still suspicious of human motives. Humans had taken so much from her people during the war. Why would they give back something so precious? Kimberly looked surprised. "Because it was right. Our peoples are at peace now, and no child should be separated from their family regardless of species. Especially not a royal child." Theo looked at his mother, then at Kimberly, who had escorted him across the stars. "I have questions," he said. "So many questions about who I am. About my people. You will have answers," Zilara promised. "Both from me and from the humans who raised you. They will be welcomed here as your family." Kimberly seemed surprised by this offer. "Kalara." The chief advisor stepped forward. "My queen, perhaps we should discuss this in private." "No," Zilara said, her voice firm. "The humans returned my son when they had no obligation to do so. They will be honored for this. The Sanchez family will be welcomed as friends of the Empire." Theo smiled, revealing teeth that had been shaped by earth foods rather than the traditional Drazine diet. "I would like that. My human mother. She worried I would be angry when I learned the truth. But how can I be? They saved me. They loved me. They helped me find you." Shilara felt something shift inside her. The hatred she had carried for humans began to dissolve. They had taken her child but also preserved him, and now returned him when they could have kept him hidden forever. Perhaps there was more to these strange, soft-skinned creatures than she had thought. The first step toward healing had begun. That night a feast was prepared to celebrate the return of Prince Miro, now called Theo, by his human family. The grand hall of the palace was decorated with the royal colors of purple and gold. Long tables were filled with traditional Drazine foods, as well as some earth dishes prepared specially for the human guests who would be arriving soon. Theo stood before a mirror in his new chambers, staring at his reflection. He wore traditional royal garments for the first time in his life. The fabric felt strange against his scales, so different from the cotton and synthetic materials he had grown up with on Earth. A soft knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in," he called Queen Zilara. His mother entered. She had changed from her formal armor into ceremonial robes. Her 6 eyes studied him with a mixture of joy and sadness. "You look like your father," she said softly. "He was brave and kind." She paused. "He died in the early days of the war?" Theo nodded, unsure what to say. He had prepared for this meeting his whole life in a way. Ever since he was old enough to understand he was different from his human parents. But now that it was happening, he felt overwhelmed. "I don't know how to be a prince," he admitted. "I don't know anything about being Drazine. I grew up eating hamburgers and watching baseball games. I fixed engines at the spaceport. I had human friends." Shilara moved closer. "You are my son. That is enough for now. The rest can be learned." She hesitated, then added, "Your human family. They were good to you. They were amazing." Theo said with feeling, "My mom, Patricia. She never made me feel different. She learned to cook food that I could digest. She defended me when other kids were cruel. My dad, Carlos. He taught me everything about engines and machines. He said I had a natural talent." Solara seemed to be struggling with something. Finally, she asked, "Would you tell me about them? About your life on Earth?" So Theo talked. He told her about growing up in New Mexico, about the small house with the workshop in the back where he and Carlos would spend hours fixing things. He told her about Patricia, who worked as a nurse and who always made sure he felt loved. He told her about his human sister Lily, who was 4 years younger, and who had always seen him as just her big brother, not as an alien. He showed Zilara pictures on his data pad. photos of birthday parties and high school graduation, his human family smiling beside him in every image. As he spoke, Zilara listened intently, occasionally asking questions about Earth customs and traditions, things that seemed strange to her. "They will be here soon," Zilara said. "Finally. They have passed through our security checkpoints. Their shuttle will arrive within the hour. Are you nervous about seeing them here?" "A little," Theo admitted. Two worlds colliding. Zilara touched his face gently as she had when they first met. "I owe them a debt I can never repay. They kept you safe. They loved you when I could not." The sound of trumpets interrupted, them announcing the arrival of important guests. In the grand reception hall, Patricia and Carlos Sanchez, along with their daughter Lily, stared in awe at the alien palace. Everything was larger than human scale. The ceilings towered 20 feet high. Massive crystal chandeliers cast rainbow light across the polished stone floors. Kimberly Martinez stood beside them as their guide and translator, though most Drazines in the royal court spoke passable English. "This is amazing," Lily whispered. Was now 18, a student at university studying xenobiology. Theo's existence had inspired her career choice. Patricia clutched her husband's hand nervously. "Are we dressed appropriately?" She asked Kimberly for the 5th time. The simple formal wear they had brought seemed inadequate for a royal alien palace. "You look fine," Kimberly assured her. "The Queen understands you are not familiar with their customs. She appreciates that you came." Carlos remained quiet, his weathered face thoughtful. He had spent 20 years raising an alien child, loving him as his own, and now he was about to meet that child's real mother, a queen of a vast empire. The massive doors at the end of the hall swung open and a procession of Drazine guards entered, followed by Queen Zilara herself. The humans bowed as they had been instructed. When they straightened, they saw Theo standing beside his biological mother. He wore royal Drazine clothing, but his face broke into the same smile they had known for 20 years. "Mom, Dad, Lily," he called, rushing forward, forgetting royal protocol. He embraced them, his alien strength carefully controlled as it had always been. Patricia touched his face, tears in her eyes. "You look so handsome," she said. The Queen approached more slowly, studying the humans who had raised her son. Her expression was unreadable to human eyes. Patricia Sanchez stepped forward, gathering her courage. "Your Majesty, thank you for inviting us to your home. She paused, searching for words. "We have always known this day might come. We are so happy Theo has found his birth family." The Queen tilted her head slightly, a gesture of respect among her people. "You have done what I could not. You raised my son with love and kindness. The Drazine Empire is in your debt." Carlos finally spoke, his voice rough with emotion. "He was always your son too. We just borrowed him for a while." He looked at Theo with pride. "We always told him about the stars, about where he might have come from." The formal dinner that followed was unlike anything the palace had ever seen. Drazine nobles sat beside human guests. Conversation flowed awkwardly at first, then with increasing ease as both species found common ground. Theo moved between both worlds, translating cultural references, explaining jokes, helping bridge the gap between his two families. Later in the evening, Patricia found herself alone with Queen Zilara on one of the balconies overlooking the capital city. The light stretched to the horizon, a beautiful alien landscape. "He was such a good child," Patricia said quietly. "Always so curious about everything, always trying to understand how things worked." The Queen nodded. "He gets that from his father." "The curiosity." She paused. "Will you tell me about when he was small? What was his first word?" Patricia smiled. "It was stars," she said. He would point up at the night sky and say stars over and over. We knew then that he somehow remembered where he came from. The two mothers from different worlds shared stories late into the night, finding unexpected connection in their love for the same child, one who had raised him and one who had lost him. But now they both had a claim to his heart, in another part of the palace. Theo showed Lily the royal gardens with their strange glowing plants and floating water pools. "This is insane," she told him. "You went from fixing engines at Dad's shop to being an alien prince. He laughed. I'm still the same person. Are you staying here? Lily asked, suddenly serious. Or coming back home? Theo looked up, at the unfamiliar stars visible through the transparent dome above the garden. I don't know yet, I have so much to learn here. But Earth is my home too. It's complicated, Lily nodded. I get it, just don't forget us. Okay? Even if you're busy with print stuff? Never, Theo promised, and you can visit. I'm sure the royal palace could use a good xenobiologist as the night ended the two families. Drazine and human, so different, yet connected by one remarkable twist of fate, found themselves bound together by the young man who belonged to both worlds, a bridge between species who might help forge a deeper peace than any treaty could establish. The following weeks were filled with intense education for Theo. He learned Drazine history, language, and customs. Every morning he studied with royal tutors, learning things most Drazine children absorbed over years. His afternoons were spent with his mother, learning the specific duties of the royal family. Patricia, Carlos, and Lily remained as honored guests, though they knew they would eventually need to return to Earth. Carlos had a business to run. Patricia had patients who needed her. Lily had her studies. But for now they enjoyed this remarkable experience, supporting Theo as he adjusted to his new reality. One afternoon, Silara took Theo to a part of the palace he had not yet seen. They descended deep below the main structure through crystal-lined tunnels until they reached a massive circular chamber. The walls were covered in bioluminescent script that pulsed with a gentle rhythm. This is the Hall of Ancestors, Silara explained. Every royal Drazine since the founding of our empire has their genetic signature stored here. She guided him to a specific section of the wall. See, here is your father's and here is mine. Theo studied the glowing patterns, fascinated by the complex beauty of the genetic code. Someday your signature will be added alongside ours, Silara continued, and perhaps your children after you. Theo ran his hand over the wall, feeling a slight vibration beneath his fingers. It feels alive, he said. It is in a way. Silara nodded. It contains not just our genetic code, but memories, experiences, the essence of what makes us who we are. Place your hand on your father's signature and be still. Theo did as instructed, pressing his palm flat against the glowing pattern of his father's genetic code. At first, nothing happened. Then slowly images began to form in his mind. A tall, proud Drazine male working in what looked like a laboratory, then playing with small children, Theo's siblings, then standing defiant before a human military officer. My father was a scientist, Theo said in wonder. Yes, Silara said softly. He developed medicines to help both our peoples. He believed we were not so different despite our physical forms. He died trying to protect a medical facility when human forces attacked. They did not know it was a place of healing, not a weapons facility. Theo removed his hand, feeling a profound connection to a father he had never known. He would have liked Carlos, my human dad. Theo said. They both love building and fixing things. Silara nodded. Perhaps she seemed hesitant. Then added, I have been speaking with the human delegation about establishing a cultural exchange program. Your human family has helped me understand their species better than years of diplomatic meetings elsewhere in the palace. Lily was making discoveries of her own, having bonded with several young Drazine nobles who were curious about humans. She was given access to the Royal Science Archives, a xenobiologist's dream. She was studying with Naxara, a Drazine female close to her age in human terms, though, actually nearly 40 Earth years old. Naxara was a scientist specializing in comparative biology. Look at this. Naxara pointed to a holographic display showing cellular structures. Our species share remarkable similarities. At the molecular level, despite evolving on different planets, the proteins fold in almost identical patterns. Lily leaned closer, fascinated. This could revolutionize medicine for both species. She said if we could share research. Naxara flicked her antennae in agreement. A gesture Lily had learned indicated excitement. Among our people, only the Royal Scientific Council has access to this information. It is considered too valuable to share widely. But Lily frowned. That limits progress, doesn't? Its science works best when knowledge is shared. Naxara seemed thoughtful. You humans have strange ideas about information, but perhaps there is wisdom in your approach. I will speak with my supervisors. In another part of the palace, Carlos had been invited to tour the royal engineering facilities. The Drazine chief engineer Drylock had heard from Theo about Carlos' skill with machines and was curious to learn more. Carlos stood amazed at the massive anti-gravity engines that powered the palace. Systems. These are incredible, he said, examining the pulsing core. How do you contain the energy field? Drylock explained the principles using terms that sometimes had no human equivalent, but Carlos understood enough to be impressed and to offer insights from his own experience with Earth technologies. You know, Drylock said we could improve the efficiency by adjusting the containment field like this. He demonstrated a modification. Carlos studied it, then suggested another adjustment. I think if you realign these emitters here and here, you could reduce the power consumption by maybe 15%. Drylock tested the suggestion, his 6 eyes widening when the readings confirmed Carlos was correct. Fascinating, he said. No Drazine would have considered that approach. Our engineering traditions are very standardized. Meanwhile, Patricia had been spending time with the royal medical staff. Her experience as a nurse made her curious about Drazine physiology and healthcare. She had been the one to figure out what foods Theo could safely eat on Earth, what medicines helped when he was sick. The head physician Malara showed Patricia the medical facilities. Our healing techniques combine biological and technological approaches, she explained, demonstrating a device that accelerated cellular regeneration. Patricia watched carefully, asking questions about treatments and procedures. She shared her experiences caring for Theo, how his hybrid diet had affected his development, the unique challenges of raising a Drazine child among humans. This information is invaluable. Malara told her, no one has ever documented the development of a Drazine in human environment. Your observations could help many mixed species families in the future. As the days passed, Theo found himself caught between worlds. Sometimes he felt more Drazine, embracing his heritage and royal duties. Other times he missed the simplicity of his life on Earth, the freedom to just be Theo the mechanic, not Prince Miro, heir to an empire. One evening he found his human sister in the palace gardens. She was recording notes about the alien plant life. Hey, Space Princess, he teased, using his old nickname for her. She looked up, smiling, but he could see something was troubling her. What's wrong, he asked, sitting beside her on a floating bench. Lily sighed. We have to go home soon. Dad got a message from his shop manager. There are problems, they need him back, and I have finals coming up. She paused. Mom and Dad won't say it, but they're worried about leaving you here. Theo felt a pang of guilt. He had been so caught up in discovering his Drazine heritage, he'd neglected to consider how difficult this was for his human family. They had raised him for 20 years, and now they were preparing to say goodbye. What if I came back with you? He said suddenly. At least for a while I could help Dad with the shop, see you through finals, then maybe come back here for a while. It's not like I can't travel between planets. Lily's face brightened. You would do that? I don't belong only here or only there, Theo said, realizing the truth as he spoke the words. I'm part of both worlds now. And maybe that's exactly what both our peoples need. Someone who understands both sides. Later that night Theo approached Queen Solara with his idea. She listened carefully as he explained his desire to split his time between Earth and the Drazine homeworld. You are asking to be a bridge between worlds, she said when he had finished. Yes, Theo replied. I can't just abandon my human family. They need me. But I also want to learn about my Drazine heritage, to know you, to serve our people. Solara was quiet for a long moment. I had hoped, she began, then stopped when I found you. I thought I would never let you go again. But that would make me no better than those who took you from me in the first place. She straightened her tall frame, making a decision as a queen, not just as a mother. You are right. Your unique perspective could be valuable to both our peoples. I will appoint you as a special envoy to Earth. the first official royal representative to live among humans. Theo felt a weight lift from his shoulders. "Thank you," he said, "but you must return regularly for continued education." Silara added, "You are still heir to the throne. You must be prepared for that responsibility should it ever fall to you." Theo nodded, understanding the compromise. She was giving him freedom while ensuring he remained connected to his Drazine heritage. It was fair. More than fair, as he left the Queen's chambers, a new sense of purpose filled him. He wasn't just Theo, the human-raised alien, or Prince Miro, the lost heir. He was something new, something unique. A bridge between species who had once been bitter enemies. And perhaps that was exactly what the universe needed. 3 months later, Theo stepped off the diplomatic shuttle onto the landing pad at the New Mexico spaceport. The dry desert air felt familiar against his scales, so different from the humid atmosphere of the Drazine homeworld. He wore a mixture of human and Drazine clothing, a comfortable blend representing his dual heritage. A small crowd had gathered to welcome the first official Drazine royal envoy to Earth. News of his story had spread, a human-raised alien prince returning as an ambassador, the perfect symbol of the new alliance between species. Carlos, Patricia, and Lily pushed through the crowd to embrace him. The family workshop had changed during Theo's absence. Carlos had expanded, taking on government contracts to repair specialized equipment. A sign above the entrance now read, "Sanchez and Son Interspecies Engineering Solutions, inputting you to work tomorrow," Carlos joked as they drove home. "The government wants us to adapt some Drazine technology for Earth use, and I need someone who understands both." Theo laughed. It feels good to be home. He looked out at the familiar landscape, the distant mountains, the wide blue sky, so different from the crystal spires and floating islands of his birth planet. Yet both places now held his heart. His new role as envoy kept him busy in the following weeks. He divided his time between helping at the workshop, speaking at universities about Drazine culture, and meeting with Earth officials to discuss trade opportunities. The unique perspective he offered proved invaluable in bridging cultural misunderstandings. One afternoon, he received an urgent message from Commander Martinez, who had been promoted to liaison officer for Drazine Relations. Martinez met him at a secure facility outside of town. Her expression was serious. "We have a situation," she explained. "There's been an incident at the Joint Research Station orbiting Jupiter, a malfunction in the environmental systems. 17 Drazine scientists are trapped in a section that's losing atmosphere. Earth engineers can't fix it because the systems are based on Drazine technology." Theo immediately understood the gravity of the situation. Drazine could survive longer than humans without air, but not indefinitely. How much timeless? Then 12 hours, Martinez said. "We have a shuttle ready to take you up to the orbital transfer station. A fast ship will meet you there." Carlos, who had come with Theo, spoke up. "We should bring our portable atmospheric regulator. The prototype we built, based on Drazine designs." Martinez nodded. "Anything that might help." 6 hours later, Theo and Carlos arrived at the Jupiter Research Station. They were met by the human station director, Helen Foster. "The situation has worsened," she explained as they hurried. "Through the corridors, the backup systems are failing. Temperature in the Drazine section is dropping. Their systems were designed differently than ours. We can't interface with their technology." Theo studied the station schematics. The problem was clear. To him, the environmental controls were locked in an emergency protocol that only Royal Drazine authorization could override. A safety feature to prevent sabotage during the war that had never been updated. "I can override it," he said, "but I'll need to reach the main control node in the affected section. That's impossible." Foster objected. "The connecting corridor has decompressed. No one can get through." Carlos looked thoughtful. "What if we repurpose one of the maintenance drones?" he suggested. "We could modify it to carry the override codes." Theo shook his head. "The system requires direct biological contact from someone with royal blood. It's an old security protocol." Carlos wasn't giving up. "We have the atmospheric regulator," he said. "It can create a temporary bubble of breathable air. Might be enough to get you through the corridor if you're fast. It was dangerous. But 17 lives hung in the balance." Theo made his decision. They worked quickly, modifying the atmospheric regulator to create a protective bubble. It would last only minutes, but might be enough. Theo would have to move faster than any human could. But his Drazine physiology gave him advantages in speed and oxygen efficiency. When they were ready, Carlos gripped his son's shoulder. "Be careful," he said. "You've got 2 families who need you back." Theo nodded, then entered the airlock. The plan was simple but dangerous. He would activate the regulator, creating a bubble of breathable air around him, then sprint through the decompressed corridor to reach the control node. Once there, he could override the lockdown, restoring systems for the trapped scientists. The outer door opened, revealing the dark corridor beyond. Emergency lights flickered, casting eerie shadows. Theo activated the regulator, feeling the strange pressure as it generated a thin envelope of atmosphere around him. Then he ran. The bubble held, but he could feel it weakening with each step. The corridor seemed endless, though it was only 30 meters. The cold began to seep in despite the regulator's efforts. His lungs burned as the air thinned. Finally, he reached the far airlock. Slapping his hand against the manual override, he collapsed inside as the door sealed behind him. Artificial gravity and atmosphere were restored. He had made it. The control room beyond contained the central node for the Drazine section. Theo pressed his hand against the scanner, watching as it read his royal genetic signature. The system recognized him as Prince Miro. Access granted. Working. Quickly, he redirected power to the environmental systems, restoring heat and air to the sections where the Drazine scientists were trapped. One by one, the warning lights on the control panel turned from red to green. Emergency comms crackled to life. "We have atmosphere restoration reports coming in from all sections," the station director announced. "All Drazine personnel reporting in. They're alive." The journey back was much easier once systems were restored. The rescued scientists, most of whom had never met a member of the royal family, were fascinated by Theo. His human upbringing, his ability to understand both cultures. They peppered him with questions about Earth. One older scientist, Kralix, studied Theo with particular interest. "You have your father's eyes," he said finally. "I worked with him before the war. He believed our species were more alike than different. I see he was right." News of the rescue spread quickly. Theo found himself celebrated as a hero on both worlds. The human-raised Drazine prince who had risked his life to save his people. Queen Zilara sent an official commendation, proud of her son's bravery. But it was Carlos' words that meant the most to Theo. "You did good, son," he said simply. "You found a solution. No one else could have, because you understand both worlds." The incident changed how both species viewed the alliance. What had been a cautious peace became a more enthusiastic partnership. Earth engineers began working with Drazine scientists to create new hybrid systems that incorporated the best of both technologies. The research station was redesigned with compatible systems and safety protocols. 3 months later, Theo returned to the Drazine homeworld for his continued royal education. He brought Carlos, Patricia, and Lily with him this time for an extended visit. Queen Zilara had arranged for Carlos to work with Drazine engineers, sharing his innovative approaches. Patricia would consult with the royal medical staff on her experiences caring for Theo. Lily would continue her xenobiology studies with Drazine scientists. The royal palace had been modified since their last visit. A new wing had been added with rooms scaled for human guests. The queen had embraced the idea of cultural exchange, inviting scholars, artists, and engineers from Earth to share knowledge with their Drazine counterparts. Theo found his mother in the royal gardens. She seemed different, somehow, less formal, more open. "The rescue at the research station," she said. "You risked much. I couldn't let them die," Theo replied simply. "Not when I could help." Zilara nodded thoughtfully. "Your human father helped you. The engineer Carlos." "Yes." Theo smiled. "It was his idea to modify the regulator. He knows Drazine systems almost as well as I do now. I have been thinking," Zilara said. "Perhaps it is time to establish a more permanent exchange. A royal academy where humans and Drazine can study together." You have shown what can be accomplished when our species combine their knowledge, she turned to face him directly. I would like you to oversee this project. As royal envoy, you are uniquely qualified. And she added with a slight smile, it would allow you to continue dividing your time between both worlds. Theo felt a surge of excitement. The Academy could change everything. Create a new generation of humans and Drazine who understood each other from the beginning. No more fear. No more misunderstandings. I accept, he said, as they walked through the gardens discussing plans for the Academy. Theo realized how far he had come. The lost child had found not one home but two, not one family, but two, and in doing so had helped forge a bond between species that might last for generations. That evening, as the three moons rose over the crystal mountains, Theo stood with his human family and his Drazine mother watching the sky. The stars that had once seemed so distant to a young alien child growing up on Earth now represented infinite possibilities. A future where the boundaries between worlds might fade away, replaced by understanding and cooperation. 5 years passed. The Royal Interspecies Academy flourished, becoming a symbol of cooperation between Earth and the Drazine Empire. Students from both worlds studied together, sharing knowledge and building friendships that crossed the boundaries of biology and culture. The Academy campus sprawled across a beautiful valley on the Drazine homeworld, with a sister campus in Colorado on Earth. Theo divided his time between his royal duties, administrative work at the Academy, and regular visits to his human family. Now 30 Earth years old, he had grown into his dual role with confidence. No longer caught between worlds, he had become truly at home in both. On a warm summer evening, Theo sat with Queen Zilara on the palace balcony watching. Students from the Academy demonstrate a new hybrid technology that combined Earth and Drazine engineering principles. The floating platforms moved in perfect synchronization, creating patterns in the air. I received a message from the Earth President. Today, Zilara said, they wish to expand the alliance to include joint defense initiatives. Theo nodded thoughtfully. The galaxy was vast, and not all species they encountered were friendly. Both humans and Drazine had learned that lesson the hard way. Would you support such an initiative? I would have rejected it immediately 5 years ago, Zilara admitted. But now, she gestured toward the demonstration below. Now I see what we can accomplish together. The students, their minds are not limited by old prejudices. They create wonders by combining our knowledge. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of a royal messenger. My queen, urgent news from the Border Patrol. A ship of unknown origin has entered our system. It appears damaged, possibly attacked within the hour. Theo joined his mother and the Royal Council in the command center. Live feeds showed the unidentified vessel drifting near the outer planets. Its design was unlike anything in either human or Drazine record sensors. Detect life signs, General Dracos reported. But the radiation signature is unusual. The ship appears to be leaking some form of energy. We cannot identify. Have they responded to communications? Zilara asked. No, my queen. We have tried all frequencies and protocols. Theo studied the vessel. Its configuration reminded him of something he'd seen in the Academy archives. Designs theorized but never built. A quantum drive, perhaps. But the technology was beyond even Drazine capabilities. We should send a rescue team, he suggested. They appear to be in distress. Too risky, Dracos objected. It could be a trap. We have no knowledge of this species, or their intentions. Theo considered this. The general was right. Caution was warranted, but they couldn't simply leave the ship and its occupants to drift. What about a joint team, he proposed, human and Drazine together? Our combined expertise might help us understand their technology, and if it is some form of trap, 2 different physiologies might give us an advantage. Zilara nodded thoughtfully. It has merit, she agreed. Select your team, Prince Miro. But proceed with extreme caution. 12 hours later, Theo led a team of specialists aboard a Drazine rescue vessel. The team included Lily, now a respected xenobiologist and one of the few humans fully versed in Drazine biology. Carlos, too, had insisted on coming. His engineering expertise might prove valuable as their ship approached the damaged vessel. Theo felt a strange sensation, a pulling at the edge of his consciousness. "Are you getting anything on the psychic scanners?" he asked the Drazine scientist beside him. The Drazine adjusted her instruments. "They are rudimentary emotions. Pain, fear. But something else too. Hope." They established a docking connection with the alien ship. Atmospheric analysis showed the air within was breathable for both species, though slightly higher in oxygen than either preferred. The team donned protective suits as a precaution against unknown pathogens. The interior of the vessel was bathed in soft blue light. The architecture was organic curves and flowing lines rather than the angular efficiency of human ships or the crystalline structures preferred by Drazine. They followed the life sign readings to what appeared to be the command center. There they found the aliens. 3 slender beings with luminescent skin and 4 arms. Their eyes were large with multiple pupils that shifted and changed as they watched the rescue team. One of the aliens stepped forward, placing 2 of its hands over its chest in what seemed like a gesture of greeting. Theo mimicked the gesture, then activated the Universal Translator, a device that combined human linguistic algorithms with Drazine empathic technology. "I am Prince Miro of the Drazine," he said, speaking slowly. "We received your distress signal." The translator hummed, processing the alien's response. Gratitude flows. He heard "damaged by the Hollow Ones. Pursued across stars." Lily moved closer. Her xenobiologists, curiosity evident they're injured, she noted, pointing to dark patches on their luminescent skin. What appear to be burns, Carlos was examining the ship's systems. "The engine core is destabilizing," he reported. "This quantum matrix technology is incredible, but it's failing. The radiation will become dangerous within hours." Theo made a quick decision. "We offer assistance." He told the aliens, "Will you come with us?" The alien leader communicated with its companions, their strange pupils contracting and expanding rapidly. Then it turned back to Theo. "Accept help. The Hollow Ones come. Warn others. Working together." The team helped the 3 aliens transfer to the rescue vessel. Lily monitored their vital signs, while Carlos downloaded what data he could from their ship's computers. Before they disengaged, Theo ordered a beacon attached to the vessel so it could be retrieved later for study. As they returned to the Drazine homeworld, the aliens became more communicative. Through the translator, they explained they were called the Lumeri, a peaceful species from a distant star system. They had been exploring the galaxy when they encountered the Hollow Ones, hostile entities that consumed energy from living beings and technology alike. They showed Theo star charts, marking the Hollow Ones' territory, an expanding region of space that now threatened both human and Drazine worlds. This information must be shared immediately. Theo realized this was bigger than the alliance between 2 species. This was a threat that could affect the entire sector. Upon their return, the aliens were taken to a medical facility, while Theo, Carlos, and Lily reported to Queen Zilara and a delegation of Earth officials, including Commander Martinez, who had been promoted to Admiral. The situation is clear. Theo concluded, "We face a common enemy, one that neither of us has encountered before. The Lumeri technology, while damaged, is far beyond our own. They might hold the key to defending against these Hollow Ones." Admiral Martinez nodded, gravely. "If what the Lumeri say is true, we need to establish a defensive perimeter and we need to learn everything we can from them." Queen Zilara turned to Carlos. "The data you retrieved from their vessel, can we use it?" Carlos looked thoughtful. "It's complex, but there are principles we can adapt. Their quantum shielding could be modified to work with our existing defense systems. It would take time and resources." Lily spoke up. "The Lumeris biology is fascinating. Their cellular structure allows them to process energy in ways neither humans nor Drazine can. If we could understand it better, it might help us develop countermeasures against these energy-consuming entities." As they discussed strategy, Theo felt a strange sense of completion. The lost prince who had once felt caught between worlds now stood at the center of an alliance that might save them all. His unique perspective, his understanding of both human and Drazine thinking, had led to this moment. In the days that followed, the alliance expanded. The Lumeri joined the diplomatic talks, offering their knowledge in exchange for sanctuary. Carlos worked with engineers from 3 species adapting the quantum shielding technology. Lily collaborated with medical teams studying the Lumeris' unique biology for insights that might help defend against the Hollow Ones. The Royal Interspecies Academy became the center of research, with students and professors redirecting their efforts toward defense and contact with other potential allies. The first joint fleet was commissioned ships crewed by both humans and Drazine with Lumeri advisors. 6 months later, Theo stood on the bridge of the flagship of this new fleet. The vessel incorporated technologies from all 3 species, a true testament to cooperation. The Hollow Ones had been detected at the edge of the system. Their first test was approaching. Beside him stood Carlos and Lily, his human family who had chosen to remain with him during this crisis. Behind them, Queen Zilara had come aboard to witness this historic moment. As the sensors detected the approaching threat, Theo gave the order to activate the quantum shields. The technology hummed to life, a perfect blend of 3 worlds' knowledge. The Hollow Ones appeared, on the view screen void-like entities that seemed to bend light around them. As they approached, the shields flared with energy. The hybrid technology held. The fleet moved into formation, executing the battle plan they had developed. Together, 3 species that might never have met if not for a lost child found during war, now stood united against a common threat. Queen Zilara moved to stand beside her son. "You have brought us to this moment," she said quietly. "Not just peace between our peoples, but something more. A true alliance." Theo nodded, watching as the coordinated defense drove back the first wave of Hollow Ones. It was just the beginning of what would likely be a long conflict, but they faced it together. Human Drazine and Lumeri, each bringing their unique strengths to the fight that night. After the successful defense, Theo stood alone looking at the stars, the same stars he had gazed at as